Hello, hello, and welcome everyone to the March 25th edition of Systems Lab Live. We are in week 7 of the Built from Scratch series. As we are starting off this fantastic Monday, I want you all in the comments to say hello, how you doing, what you're working on. We are live from Instagram, LinkedIn Live, and YouTube. What's going on, Moms the Hustle? I hope you're doing well. Tell me what you're working on. This is the last week of the first quarter. And so many of you all might be in the thick of it in terms of projects that you're working on. So I'd love to know what you're working on. Maybe you guys are beginning something new. And so I'd love to know what you all are working on this week. What are you all working on this week? I'd love to know that. So, as we're beginning to settle in, today's theme is on risk management. This is the latest episode of Conversations with Ask Ash, Season 7, Built from Scratch, where we're taking this introspective look about what does it mean? We're asking this critical question. What does it mean to build your projects, programs, and initiatives from scratch? Meaning that this is something that has not been done before. Whether you are a part of a company, whether you are in corporate, you're part of the entrepreneurship space, you're on a board, you're building an organization, you're building a team, you are embarking upon something that's new that you are literally building from scratch. And so the title of today's live is It's Risky Business. So we're diving into these topics within the project management world. And last week we've continued this case study inside of the episode. If you go to your favorite podcast player or go to conversationswithaskash.com, the links are in the respective show notes and bios. You can go click on it, go to the site, and you can catch up on the first the first 4 episodes. So that's what you'll want to do. Um, and so that's what you'll want to do. And inside of it, you will see a few different themes. You'll see one on risk management. You'll see one on money. You'll see another one on project foundations. And so we are in this part of the episodes and a part of the podcast season where we are examining this case study. And this particular person, Casey Nicole Jackson, she's a mid-level PM, and she has a brand new project. It's a mobile app that she is in charge of producing and leading out and designing. And so this is a statewide initiative. They're going to be coordinating all sorts of services and things for underrepresented populations and groups. And so this is her really first project in the software development space. So she has a team, she has a budget, she got money. And so we were talking last week about on the Mean Green, we were talking about a few different scenarios. Some scenarios where you maybe handed some projects or a project, and you absolutely may not have any type of funding, right? Who can identify with that? I'd love to know who can identify with that. Who can identify with that? I'd love to know. And then there's some of you all where you got budget, you got money, right? And so that's not an obstacle. It's not an obstacle. So there's so many different scenarios where we talk about building out a really good budget strategy. What does that look like? What should we be thinking about? What should we include? I'd love for you all to know in the comments what's going on, Stephen. Great to see you. I would love it for you all in the comments to talk a bit about with me, when it comes to resources and when it comes to planning and it comes to the budget, what are the types of things that you all are thinking through when it comes to the budget? What are you thinking through? What, in terms of your experience, where has been the areas where you may need to have some extra money, aka a contingency or emergency fund? Because really, to be quite honest, I think it's good that when you are looking at your budget, that you pad it in certain areas, right? And it may be that that this event that you're going to have, like for instance, I'll create a perfect example, and this is a perfect example for those of you that do summits, that do virtual conferences each year, or you do in-person events. Maybe you do them quarterly, or maybe you do them by monthly, no, semi-annually. twice a year. I think that's what it is. For those of you that do that, you start to see a pattern in terms of where you want to budget. Maybe you want to do more for, what do you call swag bags, or maybe you want to invest into the immersive attendee experience. So you start to think through, in the different areas of your budget when it comes to the event experience, where do you actually, are you going to put a little more money, do a little more, buffering. So those are some things to think about. That's what we were talking about last week. And so if you have not already done so we'll just go ahead and show the website because I think it's great. Shout out to Pod Page. I'm going to share my screen with you all so that you guys can see like where you would go to go and view the podcast site. It's pretty sweet. Come on, somebody. Conversations with Ask Ash, the podcast, built from scratch. Here we go. We are 4 episodes in. We have about 6, 7 to go. We are not even in the interview stage, but you can go here if you want to buy a coffee for me, buy a tea. If you want to support the content, the creation, like what's going on, go ahead and do that if you want to. Definitely go inside here. Are you willing to risk it all? And so if you go here, they kind of gives you the description, the episode, time stamps and whatnot. This is the report that we've been talking about. And then here, this is really cool. This is where you can leave your feedback on the episode. This is where you can leave your feedback. Everything from the tone to the subject matter and everything in between. This is where you can leave comments. So you go right here and you can just grab a sticky and pull it right here and ask your question. But I definitely want feedback. We don't got no feedback so far, but I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with not having feedback. I think, but listen, you guys are going to have feedback. Somebody's going to do this. Somebody's going to do that. So that's what we're working with. So that's where we are, folks. That is where we are. So in terms of any more announcements before we dive in, because we essentially have just about 45 minutes, but I think we can make it shake and bake and have a good time tonight. We're going to do some intense showing and telling tonight. We're going to be inside of ClickUp. I'm very excited about that. We're going to be talking about building out a risk management plan, what you would do for that, how you would do that. We're also going to go inside one of my favorite tools called Coda. And then I also want you to know that this live stream is brought to you by my ClickUp and Project Management VIP Day. My ClickUp and Project Management VIP Day. This is something that I truly love and adore. VIP Days, this is where I set up 3 project workflows in one day, and you get a bonus team training on a specialized project management process. But it's great because you get your ClickUp account in your project space set up in one day with training, and it's fantastic. It's all streamlined. I have to take just a quick little sip. All right. Let's see. What do we want to do now, folks? Let's see. I am going to there's all of these items. We're going to go, as I'm going to ClickUp, I want to know in the chat what project management tools that you're utilizing, because if you're not a part of Team ClickUp, shame on you. Just kidding. You can create a risk management log or whatnot that we're going to do, a risk register inside your PM tool, and we can make it work. We can always make it work. So what I'm going to do right here, folks, is I'm going to show y'all something. This is, y'all, my dog is right here and would like to go out. And I think she knows I'm live streaming, but she cannot go out because she already went out. So I'm not gonna let the dog out. Y'all remember that song, Who Let the Dogs Out? But I'm not letting this one out. She's already been out. She's already been for a walk. Then I let her outside. You know, now is not the time. It's late. Okay, we relax. It's evening time. Nala, it's time for you to relax. Okay, I'm telling you, it's a lot going on. Okay, let me take this little piece off right here. Let me take this little piece off right here. Cool. Okay, so let me walk you through. Let me walk you through this, y'all. Let me walk you through this. We're gonna collapse the sidebar. I am gonna. Yeah, we're just gonna make this a little bit more. I'm gonna see what does it look like for y'all up here. Maybe you guys can see it. Okay, because I think Instagram's a little delayed, but we're all right. So we're gonna talk and we're going to have some conversation about risk management and why it is necessary. I can't call it, y'all. I don't know what it is of why we're in this position that we're in here tonight on a Monday talking about risk management. It's an exciting time to talk about it. Make sure that you're sharing this live stream with 3 people. You got it with 3 people who don't like risk, because we're going to make it really, really fun today. When I think about risk, because the quote unquote project definition of risk is it is an uncertain event that can be positive or negative and have a negative or positive impact on your project. That's what it is at a high level. This is what risk is. Okay. And many of us, when we talk about launching a product, we talk about a service, let's see, a podcast tour. What's popping these days? Let's talk about that. A podcast tour, an in-person event. Events are popping. Okay, it's where it's at. There's risk. Okay, there's just risk everywhere. It's risk everywhere. Marketing campaigns, social media campaigns, and whatnot. Buying land, property. It's just risk is just everywhere. It's just everywhere. It's uncertainty. And we should all expect uncertainty. Okay. And I just believe that the reason why some of our projects may fail, some of them are delayed, derailed, they go off into the deep end, et cetera, is because we have not fully embraced risk and managing it, identifying it, capturing it, analyzing it, and solving for it. This is what I know to be true, people. This is what I know to be true. And so here we are talking through risk management tonight so that we can get an understanding as we're going about our programs, our projects, and initiatives that we're working on. We want to make sure that we are doing our due diligence as project leaders, as we're managing, leading out teams, making sure that the work gets done, reporting up, all the things that we're making sure that the risk, okay, that we're assessing the risk and that we're making sure that it's accounted for. I'm gonna stop if anyone has any questions, any comments on that. But everyone is not always comfortable with the managing of risk. And why is that? Because oftentimes many of us are managing multiple projects, doing multiple things, and we're just like, who has time to sit up here and manage risk? But let me tell you something. Risk management is a team sport. That's something I put on one of my posts. Risk management is a team sport. It's not meant to be solo dolo. It's not meant for you to, be playing solitaire. That's not what this is. It's a team sport, everybody. Some people may say, well, Ashley, I'm going to tell you something right now. Not only is it that I'm working on multiple projects, it's also like my time. I don't have any time. And while that is all true, because everybody's circumstances are different, and I understand. But there is something to be said for carving out intentional time to say to you and your team to say, you know what, let's sit down and talk about what are some potential risks that we are seeing. So some of you, you can do this once a week. So for some of you, this is a every 3 days type of activity. For others, could be bi-weekly. I wouldn't go too far off of that. But so for some of you, this is going to be a challenge. This is going to be a challenge. And as you start getting into risk management, there's also an education piece. Some people are like, my goodness, who has time to teach people about risk management? Well, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're going to be talking about this. We're going to be talking a bit about, what does it mean to have a risk management plan? What is all of that about? Okay. And you must plan for risk. This is really at a level, and depends on the maturation level of your organization or your team, where you really start to put together a plan to say, this is how our organization identifies, analyzes, and captures risk, mitigates risk. This is our plan for how we go about managing risk on projects. So having a risk management plan is just essential. It's essential. And so what I want to begin to really talk through and walk through today with you is what does it look like to spend some time developing a risk management plan? How would you actually go about introducing this to your team? And so today we're in ClickUp. We will be in Coda in just maybe 15, 20 or so minutes. We will spend some time. We'll go into to Coda, and we'll talk a bit about how you would set that up over in that platform. So this is ClickUp. This is a project management tool. This is one of the many ones that are popular ones that are on the market right now. I've been a ClickUp user for about 4 years. It's lovely. And so one of the things in a PM work management tool that you can do, and I'm an MS project gal. So I was raised up on the MS project. And so this was one of the tools that was had some of the features and similarities that I was looking for early on when we're talking about commercial project management tools. So this is a risk management plan. If you also go to my digital shop, which is on my website, I do actually have the next gen digital playbook, which is fantastic. And so what you would do there is you would go there and you can actually purchase the playbook. And this template is also in there as well. So it's something for y'all to, think about and whatnot. So I will drop the link in there, but it is it's dope. It's really dope. I'll put it in. Where will I put it? Well, I'll probably just edit the show note situation, but go to AshleySchuler.com, digital products, and then you click on the playbook. You'll grab it. You got a 3 mini podcast episodes, 3 starter packs, communication plan, templating guide, risk management, meeting management, and then bonus trainings on knowledge management and mastering communication. My friends, it's one of my favorite things. So here's how we're going to get started. And I'm going to go actually click on the risk management plan, and then we'll talk about what we'll do here. So I kind of talk about inside of this risk management overview guide. I kind of give you, what is a risk, what it is. And we've talked about that. Risks are defined as an uncertain event or condition that, if it occurs, has a positive or negative effect on a project's objective. The key element of this definition is that the effect of the uncertainty, if it occurs, may be positive or negative on the objectives of the planned endeavor. The source is PMI. So you go into risk management, and I just talked to you about, having a systematic approach to it, identifying, managing, analyzing, and responding to project risk. There are several things that you can do within developing your risk management plan. Risk identification, the first step to managing project risk is to identify them. Gather with your team to identify risk. This is really important, folks, because I think what we want to do is, again, truly emphasize that this is not a solo endeavor. If you happen to be by yourself, grab a friend, someone that is within the same industry, grab a senior leader to go through some of these things with, but it should not be by yourself. It is a team sport. What you'll want to do, and actually something really fun that you can also do as well, is use Miro as well to be able to do a risk identification exercise. That would be dope, but we're going to go with one tool at a time, folks. One tool at a time. So you can also do a risk assessment. And so what we're having here is that after you have identified your project risk, you'll need to prioritize them by looking at either the likelihood or the level of impact. So, excuse me. What do I mean by that? Let's talk about Casey Nicole Jackson, and we're going to talk about a podcast tour, because that's what many people are doing these days. So I want to make it make sense to you all. So when we're talking through Casey Nicole Jackson and the mobile app, she's going to want to gather her team together and say, okay, let's talk about potential risks. We can talk about, well, number one, there could be defects, right? That could be it. There could be bugs in for the mobile app application. There could also be a resource shortage. So there's a few things that you need to be thinking through. This could be on the money aspect. This could be something that's on scheduling. This could be task-based. This could be people-based. It could also be policy as well. There's different areas that you can be thinking through. And so for Casey, she is probably going to be mostly concerned about delivering this mobile app on time. And so that's going to take a lot of concentration and a lot of strategy in terms of how she's going to be able to work with the contracting team, her internal team, the testing. If it comes back and there's defects or bugs or whatever the case is, you want to think through the timeline of that. Okay, do we have time to have that we can buffer some dates together, right? That we can have a little bit of buffer time where we can test out and work out the kinks before the launch. So that's also something to think through. What's going on, Ashley? Great to see you. So these are some of the things that one must be thinking about. Let's flip the script to the podcast tour / event planning. It's a huge event. Many people are doing podcast tours. It's a whole vibe. It's a whole thing, right? So if you were thinking through this and you are someone who's like, okay, well, I'm doing a podcast tour. Okay, some risk. Okay, some of the risk could be that speakers don't show up on time. There could be weather. That is a risk as well. There was one time where someone had an event and there was a major concert in the city at the same time. So you have to think through delays. You know what I'm saying? Delays and what could happen with that, right? I think that's going to be super important. And so what else? Could we be thinking about? Oh, well, I think, internet. Okay. I think that's always something that, is Wi-Fi and live streaming. Are we going to have the right setup? Like, is everything going to be all right? Okay. AV and equipment, all those types of things. Thinking through that, right? Thinking through what that's going to look like when we think about risk. And I also want to say this: it's everything's going to depend on the scope and the complexity of the project. Not everything, you may not have a risk log that's like 20 and 25 inches deep, right? You may not have that. You may actually be having about 5 or 6 or maybe even 10 max, just depending on what the situation is. So I want to take the pressure off of saying, oh man, I gotta have a whole lot of risk, right? I gotta have a whole lot of things going on. So when we talk about the assessment, we're looking at, what's the level of impact and the livelihood. We're talking about probability or chance that it will occur. And then we're talking about the impact. How severe is this impact? So for Casey, she should think through, man, like, okay, what if there is some sort of bug, a defect within the app? What is the likelihood of that? What's the impact? And when we think about impact, we think about, what could that potentially look like for the deadline for launching? right? Would that impact? Would they have to move back or change the date to actually launch the app? Okay. What, training, right? There's going to be there's going to be some training around how to use the mobile app. There's going to be some marketing and some outreach campaigns, so everything affects everything if there is some sort of issue that has arisen. Oh, I just popped up the word issue. So you can't necessarily talk about risks without talking about issues. We got an issue. So a risk is always focusing on the potential that it may come in the future. Okay, and an issue is like it's already present. It's already there. It's already present. Risk, we're talking about the future. This may happen. Watch out. This may happen. Issues like, hey, knock, knock, I'm at your front door. That's essentially what we're thinking about. Okay. And I think this is really important for us to know. It's really good to know. And I think we should lean in on it, right? We just gonna lean in on. So that is why you would want to essentially have a risk log, and potentially you would have an issue log, because game recognized game people, at the end of the day, sometimes the risk is the risk and it comes into fruition. You do all what you can do and it still becomes an issue. Sometimes it's like that, people. Sometimes it's like that. So what happens next? What happens next? Then you talk about mitigation. So it's creating a plan for the risk. There should be an owner for that. Again, sometimes depending on what the risk is, it's something where you can maybe solve for it a bit quicker, depending on what it is. And then monitoring. You're basically going to be monitoring each week, each month. You're going to be monitoring what risks may pop up. Okay. And so that's what we have here. And so inside your risk management plan, we talk through and walk through, how you're going to do it. Like, define why risk is important to your project. You want to identify and document and track it. You want to think through what's your methodology behind that. So we pop on over to ClickUp, and we are designing this risk register. And so I want to walk you all through this because I think this is really important to do it inside of this tool because of a few different reasons. So an example of the columns that we have here, the custom fields that we have, is we have so when we add to the columns here, what I did is I just decided that we weren't necessarily going to have a status per se. We were going to have a name, and it was going to be the name of the risk. We're going to have a risk ID, meaning that we're going to have the risk 1, 2, and 3, and then you can add more. A risk description, you can describe the risk here, the probability we're looking at, and the impact that will give you the risk level. So it's a formula. And then this is a priority, because some risks might be higher than others. So some of them may even be low. When you start to develop your risk register, you may want to do some sorting. You may want to do some sorting for, the low impacts. You want to maybe doing something for if it's urgent or high, some areas of impact. You may want to start to look at, some of these types of areas. Yes, you can make sure that you go and you can do that. You can do that. So you can go ahead and you can do that. So and so that's what we're going to look at. So this is what we have here. You have 3 of these. schedule, deliver. So when you have the areas of impact, you can do the schedule, deliverable, the people, and the money. And then the assignee, you can always assign someone right here. And then you also have the due date of, when the potential risk could be realized. So that's always one thing that you can look at. Okay. So how exactly would you also go ahead and do that? You could add within this column right here. You could be able to create your own fields right here as well. I'm actually going to add this right here, this text area, and we're going to have maybe just a risk summary. And then this can be the progress update. And we're going to add this. So this is a part of also the ClickUp brain. And we'll be talking about that later as well. But if we open this particular risk up, we're going to open this up. It's going to say speakers don't show up. You can assign it to someone right here. Maybe one of the dates that it's going to be realized. Maybe it's going to be like May 16th. It's an urgent one. And so what you want to do here is, and I'm going to make a quick edit on the fly, is you can do a couple things. Well, maybe you may not want to have the risk description inside of an actual column. So maybe you want it here. So you may say like risk description. Go here. And then you can write what the description is. Sometimes you want to make it fun. And then you can write the risk description. You can go and like, what's the impact? So what's the impact of this particular risk? So when we think through, for instance, for Casey's mobile app, one of the things that, or we can go with the speakers don't show up one. We can go and write, okay, what's the description? What's the actual risk of speakers not showing up? Okay, well, then you have to figure out, there's a potential risk of speakers being either delayed in traffic or perhaps they drop out at the last minute. That's a risk. So you can look at the potential impact of that. That could be from a marketing standpoint. You might feel like that hinders sales. That could be from, a perspective of, okay, now that we have to have backups and replacements. So the mitigation strategy, you're going to look at what's going to be the solution for that. And then you would write these out in bullet points. So this is something that, you could look at and see how that would work. So you go back out here, and then what you do is that you actually can go and put the probability in here. So what's the likelihood of that? So that's usually on a scale of 1 to 5. Typically, you could, if you wanted to, you can have a higher scale if you wanted to, but it could be the probability could be a 3. And maybe the impact is a 4. So you have a risk level of 12. Or for another one, you have the, let's see, we have the email automation right here. Email automation, email reminders don't work properly. So inside here, you can, you would go, and let me actually just go back. You would have the risk description right here. But again, you have the option if you want to put description right here, or if you want to, or if you want to put it inside here, you could. Yeah, you could most definitely do that. And so once that happens, you can go and do the probability, the likelihood of that's going to happen, and you can go about it and do the and do the impact. So it's about a 20. So that's pretty high. The areas of impact are the people. Oh, oops, and we forgot to do it for the other one, is when the speakers don't show up. And it's the same thing right here. It's the same concept that you have right here. So you can see, what does this impact? And even right here, I would say maybe even like the program quality. Like I said, you can get really creative with what are these areas of impact. And then when you have multiple types of risks, you can then even sort by those particular risks if you wanted to, just to see how many that you have. Again, so you can have the assignee here, the due date, and then of course, if you wanted to have this particular risk summary, you could. So I'm going to delete this really quickly. Yeah, we'll delete that. Cool. Okay, we'll pause for any questions about how to build this out. But I thought this was really inventive. This is, like, again, one of my truly favorite risk management templates that I've created. Again, you can this particular template, along with the communications plan and the meeting management one, is available inside of the Next Gen Digital Playbook. That's available for purchase. If you go to my website, go to digital products, and it's actually right here. So I'll actually share this tab right here. I mean, you can go right here. Boom. Like I said, go to the website, and then you can go, and that you can make a purchase to get the podcasts, the trainings, and the 3 templates. Easy as pie. Easy as pie. So we are going to go to Coda, and we are 1 minute on schedule, which I love. And we're going to spend some time in Coda even building this out. I think this is going to be really good, really fun. So let's look at that. I will hop over in a minute over to Coda. I'm going to go over here. Let's see. And we'll go over. We're going to go over and share this tab here. So Coda is one of my newer and favorite test tools that are out here. And so what Coda is, it's a doc. It's a doc. There's a Coda doc, but essentially it is a program very similar to Notion, but you can do a lot of things where you can create docs, but you can pull in everything else that you use. You can pull everything else that you use. And I like this a lot because you can create lots of different things. I've created a lot, folks, and it's fantastic. I even have my own hype doc. And so I can do some really cool things inside of there. And so we're going to create in here some sample demo docs and things. And I think, okay, this is what I wanted to do. We're going to go and create a risk management. So what you would do here, I'm going to add a page. Oh, no, add it. Hold on. I'm going to add a sub page. This is how it works. It's very easy to use. I think it's pretty intuitive. I'm going to add a new page. Okay. I'm going to call it risk management. And what I am truly an advocate of is creating playbooks for your teams, a place and space where there is a single source of truth. Now, you've heard me talk about needing one single source of truth, and that is true. I feel like for all of your projects, they need to live in one space. However, I do believe that there are some aspects in terms of the documentation aspect of projects that need to be in something separate outside of a ClickUp tool. Now, could you absolutely be in Docs? I'm not saying that you shouldn't use Docs at all. I think to each is their own, but I do believe that there are some things where it makes sense to just incorporate other types of tools that you use as a place where you can make it an active playbook for all of your different projects. And so you can do a whole bunch of things within Coda. You can put the scope and requirements, the project brief, you can have a directory of all of your project people. Like, you can do all sorts of different things. Can you do it in ClickUp? Yeah, of course you can. But there's something about this particular tool that I really like that we are going to walk and think through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write out here just a particular description. I'm just going to do a little call out, and I'm going to say this is a risk management plan designed to what is it designed to do? This is a risk management plan designed to outline how to manage risks within the team, within the organization. This is what this is. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to create a couple subpages. Come on, subpage within a subpage, and we're going to have risk guide. I'm going to have, this is a risk guide. You go right here. Risk guide. And we're going to have part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. Identification, assessment, mitigation, monitoring. And so that's what I'm going to do. Can I make it into a table of contents? No. Ooh, looking good, right? So then what we could do here is, I actually want to, I'm going to do a line right here. Ooh. Okay. And so there you have, the guide is right here. Now I'm going to take a quick pause because I've been talking to myself and looking at you all. So as we're looking at this, okay, I think Instagram still is, okay, we're on the same page. So we're just creating just a quick guide right here. I'm going to put this little icon right here. I'm going to put this icon right here. And this is also what I love too, is that I'm going to actually create a link, copy link page, and display as a card. So this is going to be like a little card. So you can create different, we're just really, I'm in the thick of it, but ideally what you would do too is then create a risk register. I'm going to add another subpage, risk register. And we're going to have document and call out. Okay. Risk register. Name. This is going to be project risk. And I'm actually going to put this as change column type. Like I said, you can do some really cool stuff here. Project risk. I guess we're going to do this like so. Or risk ID. Here we go. Risk ID. Risk. Name of project risk. We're going to make this into a canvas. We're going to change column type. And so what we would do for this is we're going to add another subpage. Like I said, this thing is like dope. We'll do project risk. What we'll do here is what we're looking to do is do a template. We're creating a template. What is the risk? We're actually going to go right here and say, and I have not done this before. What is the potential impact? Oh. What is the mitigation strategy? And so we're going to just make this pretty easy. We'll make it pretty simple. And yeah, we'll add this icon right here. So what we'll do here is when we go over to notes, change column type, we're going to search for the canvas. We're going to go to, hold on, risk, project risk. Boom. I'm actually going to do this. Hold on, delete. And I'm actually going to delete this as well, because I also want to do something where we want to add here and we want to do, summarize. Summarize risk actions or something like that, or risk activity could be. So what is column 3 going to be? Well, this is interesting because you could also do the formula risk impact, and then you could do a number, right? Well, this might be formula time, huh? What's formula? Hold on. Risk impact. You know what we'll do? We will do the number. And then we will do another one here. And I'm just doing this on the fly, y'all. Risk probability. And then we're going to change column type. We'll do the number. And then I think what we'll do here is add insert column after. Folks, this is what we'll do after. Insert column after. And we could do risk score. I'm interested into seeing if there can be. Okay, so we're going to do this. We're going to do 1. Speakers don't show up. Probability 4. Impact 6. Risk score. And I'm just going to play around with this, folks, because I don't know if. Is there a formula for this? Can you calculate? Woo! Risk impact. What's the value? Risk impact. What's the setting? Slider display. Calculate. Calculate from risk impact. Custom formula. Ooh. Risk impact times risk. What's the other one? Oh, I wonder if you have to. Yeah, this is what I'm wondering. You got to multiply it by the risk. Yeah, so you go to enter the formula, risk impact, or risk probability. Excuse me. We'll have to go back and look at the formula, folks. But generally speaking, this is what you would do to build out a risk formula. And look at this. Look at what the AI thing did. So good. And then you could open up notes for this. And then you can talk about like what is the risk. The speakers won't show up for the podcast tour event. Potential impact. Marketing and promotions. Let's see. Slow sales. Mitigation strategy. Get new speakers. Boom. Ooh, I love it. Yep. I love this. So that's all we got here today, folks. This has been a full Systems Lab Live. I hope you guys have enjoyed yourself tonight as I have. This has been super fun. And so this will be up on replay on the YouTube channel. And so please direct message me if you have any questions, comments, or if you want to see more of this. And then we'll also be discussing the new workshop. There's going to be a workshop coming, and it's a paid workshop, but it's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be more of a deep dive into project planning, and it's going to be really, really good. So that's all that we have, and we out, and talk soon.